To most people, it's Naoki. I guess the proper way to pronounce it is Naoki.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Infinite Drive podcast. Today, I have a really special guest, Naoki, and he runs the Drift 101 experience here in California. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hi. Uh, nice to meet everybody. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So I met you on my 40th birthday. I signed up for Drift 101. Never met you before, didn't know much about Drift 101 at all, and I had just one of the best days of my life with you guys. Drifting cars and really learning the technique, and you guys really just so hands on, gave me so much drive time. It's like literally one of the best days of my life. So I thought it would be really cool to get on here. You can tell us a little bit about what it was like starting Drift 101. I know you've been in the movie industry as well, and then we can go into like how people can reach out to you and set up their awesome day if that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how did you get started with Drift 101?
Well, it sort of started while I was doing events, pretty much from about 2003 up until about 2005. It was an pretty much open drifting event where anybody with a drift car can show up and, and just pretty much have a good time drifting. Along the way, um, I got asked if I would be interested in teaching people, um, providing a car and basically getting them started uh, drifting. And initially, I thought, man, I don't know about that idea. And this is pretty much the honest truth. I thought it would be a logistic nightmare. And I just didn't see it at the time. But this person approached me and said, you should just give it a try. And I went ahead and got a car and advertised it on our website. And next thing you know, we were getting some people interested. I'm like, wow, all right. So, along with the events that we were hosting, just off to the side, we would just start doing these small clinics. And we basically got people to do the absolute beginning exercises, which were essentially donuts and figure eights. And pretty much spawned from there, and it just continued to get bigger and bigger. And next, it got to a point where it was actually easier for me to organize just the school itself as opposed to doing the larger events. And yeah, we went from there. It was just sort of interesting since you did mention the sort of the movie industry. Just around that time, you started seeing cars sliding in movies, TVs, and commercials. And to us, it became sort of the norm where sliding a car wasn't a big deal. But we started getting a lot of stunt performers, stunt drivers that were sort of interested, and they were getting asked as well, like, can you slide a car the same way that we seen in this commercial? And next, we started providing classes for the the movie industry, and that's how I sort of got involved in that as well. So it was a lot of it was just timing, and yeah, it only got bigger after the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, where
Yeah.
before when we used to travel, people might know what drifting was, but as soon as that movie launched, it I didn't have to explain because there was a time where people, so what are you doing out here? What's going on? Well, I'm doing this drifting thing. It's like, a lot of people would just sort of be like, well, what's this drifting thing? And I'd kind of have to explain it. But after the movie, um, pretty much released, it just became that much easier. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
so cool. Fast and Furious really changed the entire tuner world in general, right? So,
Yeah.
and then yeah, I mean Tokyo Drift came out, and like sliding was new for me at around that time too. I knew about it. I had a 350Z that was all tuned. So because you drive a 350Z at that time, early 2000s, they were all sliding, so you were aware of it. But yeah, that really changed the scope of bringing drifting to the population.
It basically needed a name because, you know, when I think in the earlier days when people would see it, they would be like, well, that's what I used to do when I grew up in the farm, you know, or, you know, I'd steal my dad's truck and, you know, basically do donuts. They, it was never, there was never quite a definition for what a lot of the country were doing anyways. So it was kind of good to specify, hey, this is what you were trying to do back when, now has a name and it's called drifting.
Can you give us a little background of your motor experience before 2004? Like, were you racing cars when you were a teenager? Were you, are you originally from America as well?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Los Angeles,
Okay.
and you know, I grew up. I was the young kid that had the big Hot Wheel collection. So I've always grown up loving cars, and from there, you know, by buying a handful of magazines here and there, you'd hear about these track events, and I fell in love with the whole idea of going to the track first. You know, doing a lot of the time trial stuff, and after that, I ended up getting a well, I fell in love with two things. One is the rear-wheel drive Corolla, which is known as the A86 or the Hachiroku. And then the second thing was purchasing or borrowing some of the old school option video, the video cassettes.
折り返しに入りました。バッチリない。ちょっと小さくなってきたな。ちょっと小さい。ちょっと小さかったな。ちょっと。
And I would actually go into Little Tokyo, rent as many as I could, watch them, and share them with my friends. And that's when I sort of became interested in the whole drifting thing. And from there, you, because of my passion for the Hachiroku, I used to go to this website known as Club 4AG. Right around that time, there was you know some talk on the forums about people actually drifting in the canyons, and I wanted to somehow legitimize it. And I ended up going to Irwindale Speedway and approaching them and gave them this crazy idea of like, hey, uh, I want to do a drifting event there. And they're like, you know, once again, back then it was just like, what's this drifting thing? And I couldn't think of anything that was close enough to compare it to drifting. So I pretty much said, well, just imagine an autocross course, but you have people that are doing it sideways. And they're like, sure, why not? You know, so
That's awesome.
Erwin essentially gave us the first actual opportunity to host these events. So yeah, that's basically how my passion for a particular car, road racing, and then you know this talk about drifting all sort of became you know the very first open drifting event in pretty much North America.
Wow. Thanks
Yeah,
to Irwindale, I mean, for allowing that too.
yeah. So it's kind of interesting, even with Irwindale. You know, people think about the Pro Series, you know, Formula Drift, sort of creating or helping Irwindale become who they were. Unfortunately, they're not around anymore. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but it's to me, it's the staff and the fact that um, someone there took a chance
Yeah.
and said, "Hey, I kind of like what you're possibly doing," and because of that, that's when you know D1 from Japan, which is the premier Japanese series, decided to do the very first you know competition at Irwindale. Then soon followed was Formula Drift. So um, that that track in in all sense, pretty much brought drifting to the US.
So from Hot Wheels cars to the Corolla to meeting with Irwindale to events to the school,
Yeah,
what's next for Drift 101 in you? Where do you see it in the next maybe 5 years?
that's a great question. Um, I always feel like my school shouldn't be the same. So for me, one thing I'd like to see it is more or less a universal sort of way of teaching. I think even with some of the ways that it's being taught right now, it's a little bit it's a one way of teaching somebody. I personally like to understand the individual first and pretty much have this idea or relay this message that anybody can learn. And one thing about drifting that I think is so interesting is um, it is such a controlled sport where if if you could do it right and you could do it, um, anybody can pretty much can be involved with the sport. Meaning like a lot more, you know, mature drivers, female participants, and basically try and figure out a way to get the kids involved at a younger age.
Yeah.
Um, I feel as though right now in California we are pretty much dominating the spread. Where we sort of have a diverse uh, group of individuals that are taking our class. Um, I right now I'd say about a good 35% of our participants are female, and I'd
That's a
say a
high
good
number.
20. Yeah, it is. And the one thing that I see is that there's a lot of people that want to participate, and it's very diverse. And even our age range, our average participants are typically from 35 to 50. And
Right here, look, 40, I was like,
yeah, yeah,
time to do it.
yeah, yeah. So,
That's
so
awesome.
with that being said, I think it is possible to get people to sort of send out more of a universal message that anybody can get involved. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of how do we how do we encourage that?
Do you offer, I mean, I guess it's tough to do virtual drift lessons, right? Because because
Yeah,
first of all, you need, I was thinking to myself the other day, because I had reached out to you a few months after because I was like, I want to do this more, right? And
yeah,
fires happen and life or whatever, and I hadn't had the chance to do that. But I was also thinking, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just invest, like buy a rear wheel drive stick shift car to at least start to have a little beater. But then I was thinking, I mean, I'm 40, I got like things going on, like I can't just go on the street and do it. And I was like, where am I gonna find it's like really tough to find a place to safely do it and legally do it, right?
yeah,
So I think that's where someone like you is so important because you're like, well, I offer both of that. There's very little investment up front because you have the cars. Am I in a
yeah.
safe place? And that was the best part about the experience is that the pad that you had or you have is there's so much room. You're not close to any walls. It's like pure like me trying a second geared slide for the first time. Even at that speed, it never concerned me that there was a wall because you have just such good room.
It's just a matter of how can we continue to encourage new participants to get involved, and I think it's really important to sort of educate people that you don't need the fancy drift car. You don't need all of that stuff. You know, what we just need to do is just encourage everybody that it's just driving. It's just having a good time in your car. Yeah, obviously you're going to have to do some things to the car, but it doesn't have to be so extravagant.
I mean, what 1,000 horsepower? You have, these guys that are, super sponsored Mustangs and Corvettes and things making 1,000 horsepower to the wheel, like
Yeah.
crazy builds.
Yeah.
And you're there and you're like what I drove there, 240. with a locking diff and some springs, and
Yeah.
that's really it, so it's very, it's it's a very different situation there.
And that's the tough part right now is it's just always trying to tell everybody you don't need it. You don't need half the things that either your buddies or with social media, the websites or that they're telling you need, because it just makes it harder, because it's the whole idea of drifting should be it's attainable for a lot of people. And then even for myself, I try to practice what I preach. When I go to events, I don't think about, I'm not trying to put on a show per se. I'm just trying to showcase the skill set with the equipment that I have.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you personally have like a crazy build, like a 600 plus wheel horsepower car that you drift? No, huh?
No, I just keep it simple,
Yeah.
in some ways I'm just uh, trying to practice what I preach.
Yeah.
And, I would love to have the high horsepower car, but just like for the same reason I'm encouraging somebody else to get something simple, I myself, I don't know if I want to continue spending that kind of money on a 600 plus horsepower car.
Right.
It
Right.
gets expensive so fast. So,
And with that
yeah,
heat, I'm sure things break all the time on those things.
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess I just try to keep it simple and
Yeah.
promote the fun. Can you make a relatively stock 350Z or even a relatively stock Infiniti, the G35s?
Yeah.
Can you drive it until you realize you need modifications to it?
Well, when I asked you, I was like, man, because I still want to do this. I have to figure out the right play for us. Is I want to do kind of a documentary of about me trying to
Yeah.
enter my first competition. And when I first approached you with that a few months ago, you and real as you are right now, you were like, pretty much, I don't want to waste my time with you, Chris. Like, if you are passionate and really want to do this, then I'm willing to help you. But if this is just like whatever, like, you can still stop by and train, but like, don't expect me to like, push you to that level. And I love that because you know what it does? It weeds out people that aren't serious about a sport that should be taken very seriously. It's fun, but if you're trying to get to the next level, like any other sport, you train, you dedicate yourself, you push. So I appreciate it about you, that realness.
Well, there's also for me, I don't want to end up training somebody and taking their money if I don't if I don't feel as though they themselves or I myself can help them reach their goal.
Right.
I it just it just doesn't seem right. And drifting at a competitive level, it's a little bit different than say, hey, I want to compete in this road racing event, or there's a lot of sort of spec classes that you can compete in.
Right.
Um, Getting them to understand a driver to understand lines just to become faster, it's not um, it's not as difficult as for me to find that sort of inner competitiveness when it comes to drifting. And don't get me wrong, you know there is a certain level of competitiveness when you're competing at a road racing event, but to me there's something else about drifting where um, everything has to fall into place. You've got to learn how to speak and talk and get, because there's a bunch of eyeballs. It's the level in which people will follow you, and um, it's a different scale in comparison to say, and a true grassroots amateur road racer. Um, and as a sponsor, they're expected you to have you know, uh, a minimum number of followers because that's their dems that they're working with. So yeah,
Yeah.
if it all doesn't fit into place, I have no problems just saying, hey, this is where we part ways.
Do you want to share any last words and how people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, the best way to reach out to me is just go ahead and check out our website first. It's drift101.com. And if you're interested in taking a class, we have three options. And if you have any specific questions, you're always more than welcome to email us at info@drift101.com or just give us a call. Our phone number is listed on the website. And I personally have the phone number with me or the phone with me so I can answer any questions anybody has in regards to the class. Um, enjoy, enjoy driving, fall in love with driving. For the kids out there, there's not a true defensive driving experience or driving class like there used to be. So take a class with us if you feel as though you could use a defensive or car control class before you end up getting your license. For everybody else out there, we are available for anybody. I literally mean anybody to come out and experience what drifting is all about. And keep us busy, keep me busy. I
Yeah.
want to have fun. All I want to do is just watch everybody learn sort of the art form of drifting. So check us out. I'm terrible with my social media accounts. If you want to know anything about what we do, you're best off just going to the website, and that's drift101.com.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I left my review on Google reviews, and you guys have a ton on there, like all 5 stars, because we leave you very sad. We're like, when can we do this again every time? So, again, man, thank you so much for giving me my best 40th birthday and
Yeah.
for being on our podcast today.
Well, I appreciate it, and I hope to see you out soon.
I gotta
That's
come back, man. I gotta come back. Even if it's just
yeah,
I just pay you for a half a day to do some sliding. I mean, it's well worth
absolutely.
it. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Well,
Sure.
let me know.
I
And
will. I
thank
will.
you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah. Nice
All right.
seeing you.
Yeah. Take
All
care.
right. Bye.
All right. Bye.